Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Dari. Today, we're going to talk about creating a brand identity that stands out through visuals and messaging. And I want to start off by saying that this isn't a branding situation. While logos and choosing your brand colors are important, and we'll talk about them, this isn't about how to do that. It's more about how to express your vibe, how to express um, what makes sense to you? How do you bring out what you like, what makes you stand out and differentiates your brand through visuals and especially through messaging? So, with that, we're going to get started. Um, the way that you create a brand identity that stands out is to clearly define your point of view. And I talk about this a lot because, as an example, let's start here with an example is I live in New York City. There are a million sandwich shops, right? You can walk down the street and stumble into one. So what makes you stand out from the next sandwich shop? Is it because you do hoagies? Are you Jersey Mike's? Are you doing only gluten-free sandwiches, which would be amazing because I have celiac and that's a dream. But anyway, what makes you stand out? Is it the experience? There's so many things that can make you stand out, and your point of view is what's going to bring that clarity around how to speak to those elements that make you not just another sandwich shop, but the sandwich shop that knows your name and your order when you walk in through the door, or that specializes in a certain thing. So, creating clarity around your point of view is really what's going to push you forward. And you can do this visually and also through your messaging. And we're going to talk about that because what defining your point of view does for you is it starts to let people in your world. It lends to people really or being able to communicate your point of view leads people to understand your process, your way of thinking. It helps you set clarity again for your audience, but not just for your audience, but for yourself. It keeps you in integrity. It helps you decide what kind of content actually makes sense. What do you want to create? What message you want to put out in the world? Um, it keeps you from going off on tangents that you don't need to go on. And it helps you attract that audience that really jives with you, the ones that really understand where you're coming from. Um, and it helps weed out the people who are not right for you, which is, I think, most important, especially in the state that we are right now when it comes to just being a business in general on social media. It used to be to get as many people as you could into your world, and it's still about that, but it's also about picking those right people and reaching the right audience because we don't get as many chances. We are battling algorithms. We are battling many more accounts than we used to. So there's more every day, there's more and more accounts online. So how do you stand out? And the last thing that defining your point of view does is that it really facilitates the know, like, and trust factor. So again, the audience gets to know you, they know what you stand behind, what you're about, and they get they get to know you. They get to trust you. It's like being with a friend in a room. That's the way that I think about it, or I like to express it. We're going to connect with people the way that you would with a friend. So you're going to show up, you are going to talk about things that interest you, or at least within your brand or business, what things are important to you. And that's what's going to attract people into your world. So, how do we do that? Let's start with the visuals. Let's get that out of the way. So, visuals are really powerful because I mean it's what we see every day. We get bombarded with visuals and messaging all day, every day. And there's a reason why, for example, we know McDonald's arches because they are the same, they are consistent. So the first thing I would do is when it comes to visuals, of course, we're going to maybe we can work with a branding agency and they can help you pick out what your vibe is when it comes to colors and fonts and things like that. So really nailing that and being happy with how you express yourself visually makes sense. A lot of people go through my account and they'll say, "Oh, I realized it was you because of the style of photography," or "I've had the same vibe and filter on my posts for I don't know how many years now, probably over 5 years. And it's like sort of dark and moody and black. I'm always in black. And as you can see from my decor, also, black is my favorite color. Not a color, but anyway. Um, and it's not girly. Like, I'm not a super girly. I am girly, but I'm not. Like, I like watching action movies as opposed to like a rom-com. It I'm just not your girly girl. I'm not in pink. I It's just not my vibe. So that's what I wanna attract. Um, and so I did that visually. I picked a filter, and if you go on my account too, it's very easy to see that is dark and moody and expresses my personal style. So when people see that hit the feed, for people that have followed me for a while, they know that this is coming from my account before they even look at the name that this is coming from. So now that visuals are out of the way, the other way that you stand out, of course, is through your messaging. And again, going back to clarity and your point of view, you really have to decide what you want to shout from the rooftops, or maybe you have a specific method of how you do things or an ideology behind how you do things. Mine, for example, if you've been in my world, you know that I am all about simplifying the process as much as you can, because where I've seen businesses and people get overwhelmed when it comes to personal branding or branding for a business, is that they try to do too much, right? You want to show up every single day, or you want your videos to look to a certain production value, and sometimes it's just, oh, it's just too much. It overcomplicates things, and you get stuck. You get overwhelmed because you're thinking about this list of things that you have to have in place before you feel like success will come to you. Where if we keep it simple and work with what you got until we can get to those next levels, you will find you get a lot more momentum. So I'm all about simplifying processes as much as possible, because where there's clarity and simplicity, there's ease, everything feels a little lighter, a little bit more fun, and you don't get to that point where it's too much and then you stop and then you don't do anything. And you will hear me say this over and over again. The only way to guarantee your failure is if you are not trying, if you are not putting yourself out there, if you're not taking action. So I'm very big on clarity, simplicity, taking action. And that's, again, a philosophy that I use in my life. Simple: black, neutrals. I don't like a big splash of color. I used to wear so bright color, all the colors. Um, and I don't anymore because I just I grew out of it, I guess. I don't know. I just like keeping it simple. I know that all the things will go together. Black looks great. Done. Don't have to think about that. It facilitates other things that I have going on in my life, cuts out the decisions. So that's what I work on my with my clients, is how what's the path of least resistance so that we can actually get you out there. And clarifying that and expressing that will attract that person that might be feeling overwhelmed, or who hears all the rules and is like, I don't know which way to go because I don't know where I'm gonna, oh my god, this is a rule. I have to follow this rule. Where honestly, there are no rules. I have another philosophy about um, using general analytics. I mean, I think benchmarks that are just out there are great, but a great starting point. But at the end of the day, we're only in competition with ourselves, because even within the same industry, one account will do something that works for them, and I we try that on another account. It's not going to work. It's not gonna work because they have a different audience. It could be like a 2 sandwich shops. One audience is very different than the next. And so even within the same niche, you are going to find that different things work, and that just depends on the brand. So for me, when people are like, "What's the best time to post?" I'm like, "I can't tell you that until I really dig into your account and we figure that out, what specifically works for you. For example, people want to say reels, reels are the way to go, create reels, create reels. I've seen so many accounts that are doing fantastic with single image posts or carousels. So that's not the rule, but it's working for them. Why? Because they're paying attention to what their audience listens to. So identify what that is that makes you stand out, what you want to shout from the rooftops, and those are like the basic building blocks of really creating a brand identity that differentiates you from the next person. The way that you say things, the way that you express yourself, the way that your brand expresses themselves, what they stand behind. That is what is going to be the differentiator nowadays. And people are really paying attention to what they get behind. So that's why I'm very um, adamant about figuring out what you want to shout from the rooftops and putting that out there and attracting the right people. I find that in our everyday lives, people do care. I'm one of those people that cares about where things are coming from, who's behind them, what they stand for. Is that aligned with me? But besides that, even with learning, you're not going to learn. I could teach you something, and another coach could teach you something or consultant, and the way that I say it might not land, but the way they say it might land. Or the examples that I use are going to be different than someone else. Right, and maybe my examples make more sense to you than how they're expressing it, so don't count yourself out or don't feel like because someone's saying something one way, that's the way you need to do it. Please, please center yourself in you. You will attract the right people, your business will attract the right people if you are putting forth the identity that you want to and the people that you want to. So that is a very quick intro to creating a brand identity that stands out through visuals and messaging. And if you do need further help, I do have a program called Profitable Posting on Instagram, the Bootcamp. And it's not just for Instagram, it really is just a way to help you move forward in clarifying what your unique point of view is, clarifying your visuals, and what content you can create around your brand story that makes sense for you, for your audience, and that will help you express yourself in a way that will attract the right people. And if you need further help more than that, I am obviously available for consultations. Uh, but if there's one thing you walk away with this video from, is think about the one thing you want to shout from the rooftops to everyone and create messaging around that and start putting that out there and see what happens. Right? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll see you next time on Coffee with Dhari. Bye.